Hi, I'm Dick.
And I'm Eric, and we're the annuity guys. Dick, now, do annuities create the highest level of income? And if you said yes, I imagine I can just hear Desi and Lucy in the background. You've got some explaining to do, Dick. So.
Hey, Eric, that's a loaded question. I would say that the correct answer to that is no. Annuities do not produce the highest income if we're talking about potential.
So are we talking about withdrawal rates? We should be specific here. So we're talking how much money you can withdraw out of your retirement portfolio.
Right. So typically we're looking at, in the financial world, a portfolio of maybe stocks and bonds.
Right.
And this type of a portfolio, there's a prudent planning rule that's used, and it says you shouldn't pull out more than somewhere in the neighborhood of about 4% out of your portfolio, and that's been a standing rule for a long time. But recently, it's been more what?
Well, even ARP had come out and said, yeah, maybe you ought to go down to 3.5 as we were kind of in the middle of the financial crisis.
Yes.
And then we even heard some people saying, well, maybe 3% is even better yet.
Right.
Well, of course, 0 would be the best yet, but that doesn't give you a whole lot to eat with.
No, exactly. And so getting back to can annuities produce the highest income, I think if we're talking about safety and guarantees and likelihood of the highest income, yes, the answer is yes.
And there's even been studies out there that have proven that if you would perhaps replace your bond portfolio holdings in your portfolio with annuities, your likelihood of making it 30 years in retirement significantly
it goes up dramatically. Yes. And so one of those studies in particular that just comes to mind was an Ibbotson study that said that if you took the same percentages of stocks and bonds and you replace your bonds with annuities, that the likelihood with the stocks and bonds of going 30 years out and still being able to supply that income, up to 30 years,
increasing.
That you had a 77% chance of accomplishing that. But if you used annuities for the 50% instead of the bonds, you had a 99% chance.
Well, that's so 4 out of 5 versus almost 5 out of 5. You just hope you're not the 1/5 that doesn't make it, right?
And that doesn't. That's using Monte Carlo type simulations, and it doesn't really take into account the fact that it really could go dramatically the other way. That there's no guarantees here, and that if you did actually lose your entire portfolio of stocks and bonds, you would have no income of any kind. Where if you lost your portfolio of stocks when you had annuities as the foundation, you still have an income.
Yeah, the annuity income continues for the rest of your life as long as it's set up correct.
So you could potentially cut back on your standard of living a little bit, and you'd go right on with an income.
Yeah. So, and I should say, one of the things that really raised my ire, I'll be politically correct here. I'm reading through CNN Money, last couple of days, and they, asked the question about saving, making your retirement last into your 90s, and their expert doesn't mention annuities at all. Now, so I wonder where this guy works. It's stocks and bonds, and he keeps on saying, and his best advice was if you can do 50-50 in stocks and bonds, hey, there's an 80% probability that you're going to make it through those 30 years.
Well, and this is where folks have to use a little wisdom and realize that there's a lot of bias out there in financial articles, and it's not all annuities, it's not all securities, it's the mix that works. It's hitting that balance. And then what we really need to talk about also, I think, Eric, is what way do we bring these annuities into the portfolio? What are some of the methods and types of annuities that you maybe bring into the portfolio as this other foundational position?
And we've talked about laddering a lot, I think.
Yes.
So I really like to structure retirement portfolios with different rungs that get turned on at different times.
Yes.
So that there are controls for inflation. Obviously, the strength in annuities is the guaranteed. So you've got guaranteed income.
Right.
Even if you set them out future, into the future where you can turn them on in the future if you need additional income, it's another way of getting additional guaranteed income versus maybe having to rely on the stock market performance for that future bumps in income as well.
Correct. So it could be as simple as choosing one annuity with an income rider or one immediate annuity as that portion of the portfolio. But really, the better way is to use a more advanced strategy or way of structuring annuities so that they're staged at different points along the way. And you may start out with an immediate annuity or an annuity that you actually turn on right away with an income rider. And then stage various annuities along the way.
Yeah, there's taking advantage of the strength of the individual annuity rather than trying to find a one-size-fits-all style of annuity.
Well, and then a lot of folks are concerned about that portion of their money that they would like to see the principal maintained.
Yeah.
So that's another aspect of that annuity portion of the portfolio, and what we would call the sub-portfolio, the annuity portfolio, and how that's designed. So again, that's maybe something we want to get in another...
regenerating the principal.
So Eric, let me ask you, in your opinion, can annuities produce the highest income?
Guaranteed. Nice little play on words.
Yes, but it is. That's the point of annuities. It's secure. It is safe. Guaranteed. And if we're looking for potential, probably the answer is no. But if we're looking for secure, safety, then the annuities can produce very realistically the highest income.